Hi everyone, Dr. Schwan here with Dreaming Big. Our guest for today's episode is Marla Baumann. Marla is a foster care recruiter for St. Francis, a former foster parent, and is doing some truly innovative things in my mind here in Kensington, Kansas with foster care. So Marla, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start simple. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and kind of what Marla Baumann does every day.
Marla Baumann has been here for almost, I've been working in child welfare for 18 years. I started with St. Francis almost 12 years ago, and I'm the foster care home recruiter all of Northwest Kansas. I cover some of Great Bend and then all the way out to the Colorado border. So just trying to find quality homes for all of our kids.
And we were talking a little bit before the show about when you kind of entered the foster care system as a worker, other than a parent, and kind of comparing when the system privatized. So as we were talking, when I was in the system, it was the state of Kansas still, the state workers still had it. SRS now DCF. So when it privatized in around 1996. So was that kind of when you came on?
Yes, it was shortly after that. We started, Kim Yoxel started it up here, and she was working with foster care, and she said, Marla, I need some help. I was a foster parent. My husband and I had been a foster parent for a few years, and she said, I need some help. And so I came and started working with her part-time, and then it ended up being full-time, and here I am still. But we were foster parents to probably about 50 kids in our home
Wow.
during that time. So.
And I still remember we were joking a little bit about, so your children, I went to high school with them here.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon was a senior when I was a freshman, big guy, and he was intimidating, nicest guy in the world, but even though my mouth got me in trouble, and he would take me and throw me outside and have a little fun. And then Kristen, of course, she was a year older than me, so knew her a little more. Yeah, so you've been the Baumanns, everyone knows the Baumanns here in Kensington, right? And
Yes.
so you guys have been here for a long time and doing great stuff in foster care, doing great stuff as parents. I mean, you have wonderful children. So let's talk a little bit about, so Kim Yoxel comes here, does great stuff in foster care. You're kind of here, we talked to Deidre, she's here, and you guys are doing great stuff here in Kensington. So tell me a little bit about, I'm very intrigued on how you look for foster parents and how you find the right ones.
Well, we just kind of, it seems like the foster parents, as Deidre said, are our best recruiters. In a small town, it seems like it's easier because a family sees somebody at a ball game. It's like, oh, you have some little kids, and oh, I've been thinking about doing that. Oh, yeah, you should, and that's just kind of the way it goes. And so the foster parents really work well. We've been trying to go through our churches. In this area, we haven't did it, but in other parts of Kansas now, we have what's called the Care Portal, and the Care Portal has like 10 churches. And they go there and they set up one person in that church as the main person. And then if there's a need for somebody in foster care, like a foster home, or somebody needs twin beds, they send it out and it goes through this Care Portal, and then it goes out to all the churches, and then that need is met. And so, and getting these churches involved, they have realized there's really a great need. There's a need for us to help with things like this, but there's also a need to help at being foster parents.
So tell me a little bit about I wasn't familiar with the Care Portal, and so I'm getting, every time I talk to the great people here, like it's, I made a joke, I'm being selfish here, I'm getting a lot of data here. This is good stuff. So Care Portal, the religious community, which I've always thought is a very big key component. I did some speaking engagements and worked with an organization called Bethany Christian Services. I think that's what their name was. They do similar stuff. Tell me a little bit about the Care Portal. What is that?
Well, it started as just kind of small, but it's grown and it's sweeping across Kansas, and we're really excited about it.
What is it?
What is it? It's just kind of a group that they just
kind of networking.
Yeah, networking.
So
exactly.
you've got these little hubs.
Exactly.
and these church communities. So like in Kensington, is there like a...
Okay, if we had 7 churches in the Kensington community, then they would sign up to be in this care portal. And then someone from Phillipsburg says, I need a bed. So then everybody would talk to the main person in their church, in all 7 churches, talk to that person, it would go out to them, and from that person, they send it out to their whole church. And so then you've got all these people working on it, and so then your needs are met.
Is it an app? Is it like on like something like Facebook, social media? Is it...
The care portal, you can get on careportal.org and check it out.
Careportal.org, and then so basically you send out a help signal, right?
Right, exactly.
And then it sends it out, and then people start strategizing on how to get the right home. Is that kind of what it is?
Well, no, this is just for needs that homes have. But the care portal, the churches, once it got into the churches and they were realizing, oh, people need things and we can help, and then they saw that there was really a need for foster parents. Down in the Hutch area, it's been great because some of the churches down there have gotten involved, and they've set up their own classes. They've sent people from their church to be foster parents. And Bubba Dowling from DCF and I have been doing some working together, and when I'm with him, he always says, you know how many churches there are in Hayes or in Kansas, and I can't tell you the number right off my head, but if one family from every church became a foster parent, we would have more than enough foster families to care for the kids.
And so Bubba, I had him on the show. He came in and he tore up a phone book and a pan. So, I was just hoping he wasn't going to tear me up or anything. He's a huge guy.
He is a huge guy.
And but he's a nice guy.
A very nice guy.
So yeah, that was a fun interview. So
yes.
Never had someone do that with a pan or a phone book. So I'll tell you what, we're going to take a brief commercial break. When I come back, so now I'm very intrigued by another innovative thing, the care portal. Like that just sounds like it makes so much sense. So we'll talk a little more about that, and then we'll get into how you recruit your foster parents. So this is really good information. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Dreaming Big. We're in our second part of read here with Marla. And Marla, before our commercial break there, we had some really good discussion and some, we were talking about the care portal. I don't know why I was thinking UCare. I guess you care about the care portal, right?
I do care about the care portal.
Yeah. But that's innovative stuff. Let's talk a little bit more about the recruiting aspect, finding the right foster parent, and finding, as Deidre on interview mentioned, the quantity, disregarding that, finding the quality over the quantity. Let's talk a little bit about that.
There are a lot of people that think, they can get into it for making money. And so when I train foster homes, I tell them, or even when I go and speak to them before the training, I say, you're going to probably get $600 a month for taking care of your kid. But that $600 is going to go for food, for clothing, for, you might have some left over for your help with your utilities and extra laundry soap you're using, but that money's going to go for those kids. You're not going to make money if you do it right. We expect them to treat the kids like they would treat their own. If you're going to go to the Brass Buckle and get your kids' clothes, then that's where you need to go get the foster kids' clothes. But if you get your kids at the hardly used store, well, then that's probably okay too. We want you to treat them the same, but we want that money spent on the kids. So we look for families that, and the state has made it now that you have to have enough money to show that you have enough money to take care of your family before you get any of this money to help these kids, so they know that you're not living off this money.
So you're taking I know it's, when I talk to foster children and just other people, I think the stigma with foster parents sometimes is they're in it for the money, which it blows my mind. I'm like, do you realize if you're in it for the money, then you're not going to make any money. So you're probably going to spend more money being a foster parent than you are make more money. So you put it right in their face right away.
Exactly.
So they know, hey, if you think you're going to make money and that's why you're here, get out because you're not going to make any money, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I try to tell them right away, that it's not, you're not going to make any money doing it. So if that's your idea, it's probably not going to work for you.
So what do you kind of do then? Like, take me through maybe a recruiting. Like, if I'm trying to be a foster parent, like how would you evaluate somebody?
Okay, first of all, what we do is we go to their home and make sure that they have enough space. Foster kids can share a bedroom with someone else, but they have to have their own bed. So we make sure they have enough space, make sure that the window size is big enough in the bedroom that the kid could get out in case of a fire, and just kind of go through some safety hazards of the home. And then if the home is okay, then we start a training, and it's a 10-week training for 1 hour a week. They come and we just go over some different things. A lot of people, when my husband and I took the classes, I thought, I have 4 kids. I know how to be a parent. Why do I got to take these parenting classes? But you learn so much. I had no idea the things that these kids go through before they come into foster care. Mm-hmm. And this class kind of helps you think about those things, kind of maybe some of the behaviors that are going to come out of the trauma that they've been through. And so we go through this class, and then we go into a licensing process where the state comes out and looks at your home and makes sure it's safe for the kids.
And I think so the perspective piece is something I've talked about before, where if you're a social worker, if you're entering the field and you have no experience with a foster child, or no experience with a disadvantaged child, or you're a foster parent and you think the pie in the sky, like, I'm going to go help a kid,
Mm-hmm.
like, but if you've never seen some of the stuff these kids have seen, and most people probably haven't, when that kid gets into your home, you're probably going to be the first one to say, okay, get out. Or a social worker. That's probably why I know I've heard there's a lot of high turnover in especially
Mm-hmm.
bigger cities. So you're probably the first, if you've never been forced to go and actually be in these homes and see what these kids have been. And of course, if you've been a former foster child, you've got that past experience, but you can't make that a qualification.
Mm-hmm.
To be a foster parent, social worker, you had to be in a foster child, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so you don't have the perspective, and I think that's what you're trying to give them, right?
Mm-hmm. But I do feel like I'm a lot better worker because I was a foster parent.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah. And so, for the girls that are just coming out of college, and going into social work, I don't know that they have the expectations of what a home really has to go through when these kids are living there.
See, and I know, so you work with Deidre, and I think I put Deidre through boot camp, so she was ready.
Okay,
so,
yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah.
But that's a good point. And so I had, Annette Kennedy, another great person here that was a teacher of mine, lives over in Phillipsburg. When she asked me about a year or two ago, I can't remember now, and I had her, I forced her to come on the show as well. She wanted to get involved, and how could she help? And I've had other people ask me, should I be a foster parent? And so my first thing was, I wanted them to get a perspective. So I told her, I had a great experience with my CASA worker. Chloe Hahn was phenomenal. I said, go volunteer to be a CASA worker. It gives you that perspective. So I think that may be another approach too. But yeah, so
exactly, yeah. I think because just an ordinary person off the street has no idea what the trauma these kids have gone through. I mean, it's just, sometimes I can't believe it when I read referrals, like why the kids are coming into care. Here a while back we had one where the bed bugs were so bad in this home that the kids were having to sleep out in the hallway, and just beyond my belief that kids could have to grow up in that.
Yeah, I remember, so I interviewed, when I was a student at K-State, I interviewed foster children, wrote about it in my first book, Seen as Foster Child. I had one girl who, she went to school just so she could get a warm bath and food. And when she went home, it was just pure evil, it was bad. And you think about your own family, so if you're a young family and you got the pie in the sky type thing, I'm gonna help a kid, and say you have a young girl, a daughter or a young boy, your own children, you have no idea what you could even be bringing into their presence as well too. So I'm sure that's something that needs to be, hey, are you aware of this?
And that's what we tell the family. You really need to get your kids on board. I recently had a foster home, and they had a little boy that they had adopted, and they wanted to do foster care, and so we put a little boy there that was 3, I believe, and their voice said, no, I don't want him here. This is not going to work. And so the family had to disrupt on him, and he had to leave. So it's really important that your family is on board, because it brings a lot of change to the home. I always had to make sure my older kids were already grown when I did foster care for the most part, but Cade was at home, and he always wanted to make sure that the kids weren't in his class at school. Either older or younger was fine, but not in his class, because if he had to be home with them all the time, he didn't want to have that at school. So, and some of the kids were kind of rude. They would be like, "Oh, here comes your sister," or and give him a bad time. And so, but he was fine with it. And he, my youngest foster son, was one of the groomsmen at his wedding. And he was also one of the guys that stood up with them when their babies were baptized. So they had a close relationship. But he just kind of laid down a couple rules, and that was fine.
But it's probably rules that even so. I'm sure he probably wouldn't want his own biological brother or sister in his class. So they're probably same rules.
Exactly.
That he would probably,
Yeah.
So any other last piece of advice or tips for maybe how you, I don't want to use the word weeding them out, but maybe that's the right word, weed out bad foster parents to get good ones. I know we don't have enough, but we're focused on quality, which I think should be the focus. Any last tips there, and then we'll close out the show?
Oh, and get into it for the right reasons, help kids. If, like I said, if you're doing it for the money, it's not there. So, you have to decide what your reasoning is, why you're getting in. And a lot of people want to, I want another child. I want to adopt a child. Well, foster care really isn't about that. We're wanting to help those kids get back home. We're wanting to help the children more so versus the family. We're wanting to find a family for our kids rather than a kid for your family.
No, on the flip side, though, I think a lot of kids, in my mind, and this is just me, they shouldn't go back home. And if they've come in, like some of the ones I've interviewed, like, you don't send them back to evil. And so foster care to adopt, I think, could be powerful. I know like some of the people, like I've talked to Jeff Yoxel and Kim Yoxel adopted. I mean, that's powerful stuff, and I think it could be. So I don't want that to be like completely, I think that could be a good route. But again, it goes back to that child, what is in the best interest of that child? And I think that focus gets kind of taken away sometimes. But
well, if they can't go home, then definitely we need a home for those kids.
Well, thank you for coming on, and I hope you and Deidre keep up the great work here in Kensington.
Thanks.
And I'm going to push for you to be the models of foster care, and I'll keep throwing your names out there.
All right.
So, but thanks for coming on, and that'll do it for our show. Thanks for tuning in, and God bless the United States of America.